Hi, everybody, and welcome to the final webinar in our series on the AIOps buyer journey. My name is John Holwick. I'm here with Mark Krasinski,
Hello,
and
everyone.
we're excited to talk to you today. Thanks, Mark. Did you want to say hello?
Yep, just saying hi.
All right, so let's dive in. We've got a really good topic for everybody today. To introduce myself, I'm John. I'm currently our Vice President of Sales. I've been with the company for 2.5 years. It's the second AI company that I've worked for. The last one was acquired by eBay. Before that, I worked in finance and focused on research of equities, very data-driven position, lots of Excel work. And this position within Loom Systems really allows me to combine all of the things I've done before with AI, with data, and then apply it to your IT systems. So happy to talk to you today. Mark, would you like to say a couple words about yourself?
Of course, I started my professional journey with VMware, started all the way down as a software solutions engineer, worked my way up to be a technical account manager and a customer success manager for some of the largest enterprise clients in relation to mobility management at VMware. And after dealing with a lot of log analysis, moved over to Loom Systems, which I believe is a great IT ops platform that's really driving a revolution in terms of how we're resolving incidents and how quickly we can respond to such incidents. So I'm glad to be part of the team here at Loom as a solutions engineer.
Thanks, Mark. So today, what we'll talk about is, again, this is the 5th webinar in our series on the AIOps buyer guide. What we've covered already is the ROI that you can expect from AIOps. That was a webinar we gave a few months ago with our CEO, Gab, as well as our sales engineer, Tim McGraw. Second webinar that we gave was how to quantify the benefits of AIOps, led by yours truly. I went through the calculations on how we arrived at those ROI expectations. The third one was the AIOps RFP, which was given by Tim McGraw, our sales engineer, and walked through a template that you can use when you're engaging in an AIOps project to send out to vendors to make sure that you're not leaving any gaps and you're getting the best information for that evaluation. And then the one that we just did a couple weeks ago was myself with our guest speaker, David Ishmael, who is the VP of ITOA at a partner of ours, Trace3, and a former CTO, where we cover whether your organization is ready for AIOps. All of these are available and recorded for you at loomsystems.com/webinars. So write this link down, go there. You can access any of these recordings. You can pause them. You can go back and listen to us say things over and over again. And they're very informational. And I think that the entire goal of the AIOps Buyer Guide series is to equip you in a relatively new industry with the best information to prepare yourself for success. And covering all of these topics and hearing what we have to say really gives you a very, very good picture and a very good plan for how to attack this topic. Without further ado, I want to remind everybody what Loom's mission is that we are, the only reason we exist as a company is to improve the experience of your customers by predicting and preventing problems across the entire digital enterprise, so applications through infrastructure and everything in between. And to do that using AI and machine learning. The two unique differentiators of our product that you won't see in combination with any others on the market are that we will find IT incidents before your customers are affected and tell you exactly how to fix these incidents. Today's webinar is to share with you 4 stories from our customers. These are all large global enterprise customers with very complex environments. And our goal today is to take you through some of the details of these customers, what they were challenged with, and why they chose Loom systems to solve these challenges. As we go through these, please use the chat function, which is down in the, should be at the bottom of your screen with the webinar. And enter questions as these come along. Mark and I will both address them at the very end. And any question is welcomed. So we'd love to make this very interactive, and we welcome any questions that you have as we go through this. So I will lead us off. We've got 4 stories here. The first one is on a Fortune 500 CPG company. This company produces many of the brands that you've known and loved for decades and decades. So they produce razors, they produce shampoos, laundry detergent, toothpaste. I can guarantee that you have several of these items in your kitchen or bathroom right now. And as a CPG company, especially with their global reach, they really faced complexities that that were difficult to both monitor and to detect when you have a problem and know how to solve it. In specific, this company engaged with Loom when they were starting on a cloud migration. So this is one of our customers as a part of our cloud assurance use case. So they were moving several key applications, actually hundreds of key applications, from their on-premise data centers into Azure. And they had moved about half of them, something like 4,000 servers from physical servers into Azure. And many of the key applications at the point that they engaged with us. And the key pain that they experienced is that they didn't know how things would break. When the applications and the servers were on premise and they had experience with them, they sort of knew what to expect. They could anticipate that if something was going to break, it might look a certain way. So they'd done a lot of work to configure alerts and to catch a lot of those problems. They still had significant blind spots, but could catch the things that they knew could go wrong. Then when you move to the cloud, you've got a whole new element here that introduces many new combinations of ways that things could go down. And when they go down, they're costing hundreds of thousands of dollars per hour, or maybe even more, depending on the criticality of that particular application. So they engaged with Loom with the promise of being able to catch things without having to tell the tool what to look for. So we installed actually within their Azure environment. The data was then sent to the Loom server. The AI went to work to establish baselines of every single data point, and then proactively tell them when they had a problem, again, without having to define or configure what to look for. So a couple stats behind the results that they saw in the first few months from Loom and continue to build upon with the engagement that they have with us. So first of all, when they moved to the cloud, they went about the same process that they did when their servers were on premise. They configured as many alerts that they could for scenarios that they could foresee, and put a lot of effort into this, many hundreds of man hours into creating these alerts, to the point where they actually ended up with 9,000 critical alerts a day coming out of Azure and based on these thresholds. When they installed Loom, and after a period of about 2 to 3 weeks of tuning, we had reduced that number of alerts down to 8 per day. So the reduction of alerts went from 9,000 critical alerts per day down to 8 proactive incidents that were found by Loom. What that meant for them is that man hours were reduced by 99% plus. they were able to calculate a 500% ROI and a 300% improvement in productivity by the members of these teams. And I think a statistic that really sums up the benefit here, they had initially set up a team of 3 in their cloud operations team to handle all of these alerts that were created. And they'd calculated that they would actually need a team of 20 to 50 to handle those 9,000 alerts per day and determine what was a real problem and then what to do with it. But with Loom, instead of growing the team to 20 or even 50, they stayed with 3 because they were able to see what was a real problem, not have to configure it, and then those 3 people could then spend their time focused on solving the alerts, connecting with the right application team, or fixing the issue with the server in Azure. It moved them from being flooded in noise and trying to find a needle in a haystack of critical alerts to actually being able to spend their time solving problems instead of diagnosing them. So that's the first story. Happy to take questions if you guys have them. Let's move on to customer number 2. So this was a customer that we engaged with about 18 months ago. They are an automotive company based out of Germany. They produce cars, luxury cars, as well as trucks. And they engaged with us because, again, they have a very complex environment with many components that are dependent on each other to function properly. So when one thing goes wrong, it knocks down a lot of other dominoes. And when these dominoes fall, they can create downtime, either on the production line or elsewhere in their distribution chain, that can lead to very costly issues. So this was a case where before they engaged with Loom, they had told us a story about a print label server that went down within their parts department, so their aftermarket parts department, which sent parts around the world to all of their dealers and locations to fix their cars. The print label server went down, and when they couldn't print the label to put on the box to say where to send the part, it meant that the entire supply chain was shut down. And this was out for a few hours. It cost about $6 million in terms of the actual downtime. And it was a very seemingly simple issue, but the problem is diagnosing and actually pinpointing what the problem was. So they engaged with Loom to uncover problems like this. Another interesting story about this customer is they also applied Loom across their production line, specifically on the robots on the production line that were focused on QA, quality assurance. Some of these robots were, for example, in charge of looking with cameras at the valence between, for example, the front door and the front quarter panel to make sure that it's within quality specifications for how wide that gap would be when the car is produced. So these robots, there was actually, they have more than 1 million robots across their production line. These robots all have their own operating system and they all do a very specific job. So similarly to the customer that I mentioned before, the CPG customer, to be able to configure alerts that would catch problems would be a task that would be humanly impossible. It would require so many hours of work and so much analysis on every single robot to know how it might break that you would never get there and you're doomed to fail. So instead they installed Loom to be able to catch any of the anomalous behaviors that might happen, again, without being told what to look for. But these anomalous behaviors would indicate that a robot is malfunctioning, and it would save what's called a human manual intervention, which means a person has to walk over to the robot and make sure that the camera goes to the right place, or that the robot arm moves in a certain way if it's not moving it properly. So these are a couple ways that this company put Loom to work. Here's some highlights and some statistics on what they saw. We were analyzing about 3.5 million logs per week. We needed to integrate with their existing stack of tools because there's production systems and also production monitoring systems that were in place that were not going away. So we were easily integrated with that existing stack. And again, the benefit that they saw is that the time spent manually looking through logs after a problem occurred was reduced and almost eliminated entirely, because the logs were used to find problems and surfaced immediately when they were anomalous. So the team had in front of them all of the information that they needed to solve the problem and understand what was causing it, so that they could reduce their time to resolve issues by 45%. And they also saw a 70% increase in the incidents that were detected through the AI instead of detected after somebody had to alert them on the production floor. So this was a great use case, really a fun company to work with, and that's the story. So I'll hand it to Mark for our third company.
Appreciate it. Yeah, so for our next example, we have a financial services company. This particular enterprise is currently going through a digital transformation, and at the time was as well when they came to us. Due to this digital transformation, this movement to Azure, as was mentioned before, there was a lack of knowledge on the side of the IT staff when new issues were to occur. This also resulted in an increase in unanticipated incidents, simply due to the comparative lack of knowledge in the IT staff. They turned to Sophie, our AIOps solution, to potentially resolve this issue. We do this through our knowledge base, which essentially provides us with potential resolutions ahead of time. This was extremely useful for them, especially because they had a flood of data coming into the environment every day. As you can see here, over 1.5 terabytes of logs every day. This was causing critical outages. This infrastructure was responsible for thousands of employee workstations and their virtual desktops. Any outage in the infrastructure resulted in a real productivity loss across the enterprise. And these can scale all the way from hundreds of thousands to potentially $1-million outages. With the use of Loom, the full stack could be monitored. All of their virtual infrastructure, VMware, Citrix, very common virtualization platforms. And we were able to report incidents and reduce the time to resolution for critical outages, which was most important of all. This led to us securing a 5-year engagement with this customer, and we'll continue supporting them throughout the entire time. In the small amount of time that we have been working with them, under a year, we've already produced over 10 times as much return on investment just from cost savings from those critical outages that were impacting anywhere from 1,000 to 10,000 users. This example really shows the capabilities that Sophie has to scale to a truly large enterprise and handle large amounts of data. With Sophie, this enterprise can handle its vast IT infrastructure with less time and effort devoted to support and maintenance. Because what we have here is a tool that can provide you RCA and reduce your mean time to resolution. If we move on to the next example, what we also have here is a telecommunications corporation. What they have turned to us to try and help them with is essentially staying within their SLAs. We were tasked with monitoring their whole support infrastructure, anything related to customer support, whether it's getting a new phone or making sure billing is being processed. We were entitled with supporting that infrastructure and reporting any issues ahead of time so that customers were not affected. Essentially, one of the managers reported to us that instead of the customer calling him with potential issues and saying where we are, he can actually respond to the customer first, saying that we've identified issues in A, B, and C, and we already have a game plan for it. So it took him from the back foot to the front foot. Loom Systems also found revenue impacting incidents that weren't seen before in 2 weeks. So 2 weeks ahead of time, we were able to see incidents that before would have taken this customer off guard. Additionally, 37% of incidents that were high and critical were actually seen ahead of time, which again allowed them to respond to their SLAs faster. As long as they stay in their SLAs, all their customers are happy, therefore we're happy. We also integrated with all of their current support infrastructure quite easily. We have webhook, Slack, and SMTP integration, which we utilized in this customer so that their level 1 users could handle incidents without having to escalate to senior staff. This really sped up the time again to those SLA, those support licensing agreements, and really improved their ability to support their end customers and make sure everything is running smoothly. So that's the examples I have there between the financial and the telecommunications institutions.
Great, thanks, Mark. And if anybody on the line does choose to engage with Loom Systems, you might be lucky enough to work with Mark as well to drive these types of results in your organization. So to recap, what we talked about today. So this was our customer stories on how AIOps can actually impact your enterprise. The 4 other topics you see in front of you, we have the AIOps RFP template available for you to download. We have a full 10-page white paper on the research we did on the 5 areas that drive ROI behind AIOps. Then we have a recording of the Q&A that we did from our special guest, David Ishmael, 2 weeks ago. And we are also offering, through the end of the month, a complimentary AIOps consultation. So you'll see this on the website, or feel free to just email Mark or myself directly. We'll set this up with the appropriate member of the team. But we're offering both a consultation to tell you about how we perceive your readiness to engage in AIOps. We'll talk about the challenges you face. We'll talk about how we would address them and often in what order if you're facing several of them like we see regularly. And we'll also provide a custom ROI analysis so that if you don't yet have the support from executive management, but really see the value of applying AI across your IT operations processes, we can give you the numbers on what you would expect for the cost from Loom and the return that you would get in terms of benefit to the business. Seeing those numbers makes a very compelling argument for senior management to engage if they're not there yet, especially if you take it to numbers folks like we have in finance. So we're offering all of those free of no cost. Just go to our website or email Mark or myself, and we'll get you connected with the right member of the team to address this specifically for you and to create a plan. So with that, let's go to Q&A. I see 5 questions, which is great. Feel free, anybody on the line, just to continue to add these as we talk here. And I'm going to consult my list. So we'll just take it from the top. I see the first question of how do 3 people actually handle all the cloud incidents for the consumer company? Okay, so if we go back on that slide, what this person is referring to is that they were able to handle their entire cloud operations process with only 3 people instead of hiring the 20 or 50. So the reasons for that, again, with Loom, they were able to reduce their critical alerts from 9,000 per day down to 8. And with these 8 alerts, they were significant problems every single day. So, I don't want to say that these 3 folks didn't have anything to do, but they knew exactly who to take these problems to. They were really focused on identifying whether it was a platform problem, meaning their responsibility in Azure, or whether it was a problem that resided, at the particular location or with a particular application. Loom Systems gave them this information and gave it to them proactively. So having 3 people to deal with 8 alerts a day is, still a lot of work, and these are complex problems, but very manageable, and they were spending their time solving issues rather than figuring out what was going wrong. Thanks for that question. Let's go to the second question, which is, how long does it take to get to these results? So it does vary. This is a great question, and I'll give a better answer than it depends. But certainly it's going to be dependent on the size of your organization, how big your problems are now, what you've done already to address it. But the examples that we cite here have all occurred within 6 to 12 months of using Loom. So these are highly quantifiable, tangible results that each of our customers has seen after a period no longer than 6 to 12 months. Realize that AIOps is a journey, especially dealing with large enterprise organizations. There are many stages in getting to the maximum benefit of AIOps. And for this, we've created what we call the AI playbook. And it's the most comprehensive resource that we know of in the industry to bring AI to your IT department for the first time. And it follows 6 simple steps that are highly oriented towards planning all of the details, understanding all of your problems, establishing appropriate KPIs, and then building in the solution into your workflows. It's very comprehensive. We and our partners do most of the work. You just need to provide the information, and we'll build a plan and we'll guide you through this. We understand that doing something for the first time can be intimidating, and through our playbook, we're able to reduce that intimidation, take down those hurdles, and really achieve great results with you. So third question here that I see is why is there a reduced skill set needed from operators? So reduced skill set, I think that's referring to the same thing on the screen here. What our customer told us here is that they have highly specialized teams and highly specialized engineers that would focus on one particular application, or they would focus on the infrastructure, or they would focus on the network. So there was a lot of depth within the organization, but really nobody, I'm not exaggerating, that had the breadth to understand the entire IT ecosystem. So the skill set that we're referring to here is that Loom is going to surface the problem and then surface the information around it so that you could send it to the right expert and get that correct the first time. The skill set that was needed to make an appropriate escalation before that was an extremely senior person that would know a lot of history of how the environment has been evolving, and also have a lot of breadth, maybe worked in several different areas of IT before they got to this position. Because this information was really tribal knowledge. There was no way to determine which data was appropriate and which team could handle an issue without sending it to, without making the wrong decision several times in trying to assign it to the right team. So with Loom, all of the information is in front of you. You're able to see what the true root cause is. You send it to that team, and that's not as expert of a position to make that evaluation and get it solved. Those are all fantastic questions. Fourth question is, what type of deployment options are there? Were all of these examples SaaS or also on-prem? Maybe Mark, do you want to take that one?
That's pretty straightforward. So we accommodate all types of deployments for enterprises. We realize that some type of information may never move to the cloud. So we offer on-prem, SaaS, and even hybrid cloud solutions. So if you have your own private cloud, we can deploy there as well. In fact, the financial example that I've presented and the telecommunications example were both on premise. So we're very much enterprise focused, and we'll deploy in all three methods, as I mentioned.
Great. Fifth question, what is the needed level of time commitment from my staff to achieve these kinds of results? Maybe Mark, do you want to take that one too?
We actually hold the hand of our customers and our partners through the entire deployment process. And after installation, which in a SaaS environment could be same day, in an on-premise environment, if you have several environments you want to deploy between test and prod, could be in as little as a week. And then after connecting data sources, which can take sometimes more amount of time to find the right sources that you want to connect to, may take from a few weeks. After that, the actual commitment and implementation that your IT staff needs to take to fine tune our product to make it usable within your enterprise would be as little as 15 minutes a day. So once we get to that phase, one of our sales engineers, possibly myself, will actually get onto a call with you, and in as little as 15 minutes a day, we'll be able to fine tune the process so that Sophie can actually be producing you actionable alerts and start reducing that mean time to resolution we've been talking about. So I'd say very little day-to-day effort needed to maintain our system.
Thanks, Mark. We've got this recorded, so we're going to hold you to it. 15 minutes a day. Sounds good. Yeah. One more question that I see just came in is, does my team need to understand machine learning concepts in order to be successful?
I can take that if you want.
Sure, yeah.
So we actually black box all the technical nitty-gritty components of machine learning in our software. It does potentially have a little bit of an enhancement if the admins understand how machine learning works, because then they'll also understand the importance of providing feedback to our system. But Sophie is completely unsupervised and can produce incidents as early as one day in. In terms of squeezing the most amount of value possible out of our solution, we do need that feedback. So we just appreciate someone who understands the importance of providing our system that feedback to tailor it to their particular enterprise. That's definitely something I wanted to get out there in reference to that question. John, anything you wanted to add to that?
No, I think you handled it perfectly. Good answer. So I've put on our contact information here on the screen again. Please do email us. Mark and I are both very passionate about this topic, and we'd love to engage with any of you on the line today. If you have a question that you were too shy to ask us, then shoot it over to us. We'll get on a call, or we'll write you an answer to it. And we hope that we can talk further with anybody on this call about the problems you're facing and how you're hoping that AI can help you solve them. So thanks everybody for those of you who attended every session with us in our buyer guide, all 5 of them. Thanks a lot. And for those of you who are new, it's all accessible online, and we'd love to talk to you further. Have a great day, everybody.
Visit loomsystem.com to create your trial account and learn about your infrastructure's complete story today.